26. I just downloaded it.
1826.
1826 is for prevailing winds. I just download it and listen to it as a podcast, in the tractor or in the vehicle or whatever. It's scary what is on there and what people who live by turbines are talking about and how it impacts their health and their lives. That's what got me involved in this. There was a hearing a year ago, and I showed up because the only impact I knew about was road haul agreements and how it was going to impact our roads. And most of y'all know I moved here because of impacts from the oil and fracking problems. So I know about impacts from industry and what they do to you, to your finances, to your health, to your property values, your life, sleep. I didn't think that was going to happen with these turbines until I started hearing these stories from people. Vicki May was the first one that I had heard from. She's from Nebraska. Teresa talked about, she was on that docket. People after they heard her called me and said, wow, she sounds just like you. She's been living with it. I've lived with it. I wish I would have known a year ago what I know now. I wish I would have known when we went to the PUC for the Dakota Range what I know now. The things that we have put on the record. I didn't put any more on there. I've been writing, I've been sending in scientific information to you guys. I don't know what more to say. This is absolute rubbish. We gave you, like Amber said, the ordinance from Wyoming that's very comprehensive, very specific. It may not be perfect for us, but it definitely covered things that should be covered. This is just a general blanket statement allowing them to do whatever they want. And this is just rubbish. It is just absolutely crazy. When we started, I think it must have been about May, Todd Case came in and he said, do you want to zone turbines out? That was the question. That's an economic development question. He didn't say, are turbines good for our community? Are turbines safe for our neighbors and families and friends? That was the question that should have been asked. That is the beginning of your ordinance book, our ordinance book. Section 100. Public health and safety. Your job isn't economic development. We have an economic development board here in town. There are other people out here that have conflicts. Mr. Hanson, you have some contracts too. Mr. Letty, why are we in the rural areas not getting the 1 mile setback just like town? I think we should have the same protections as the people in town. We shouldn't have to have our sleep disturbed. I'm sure that's going to be a concern with your guests if somebody was coming by and disturbing your guests at night and waking them up. You lose your customers. We'll lose our homes. By allowing 30 hours of flicker in our home, we have no refuge anywhere on our own property from the impacts of a neighboring turbine. 30 hours of flicker a year in our house. Not only will it cause health issues, but it will cause immense stress. One of the stresses that I dealt with out in Wyoming was the fact that I couldn't do anything about it. And it makes you very angry. And it makes you very frustrated. And that anger is hard to give up because here I am. I moved here to start relaxing and go back to my farming and doing my local foods and all the things that I love. I have been looking at impacts constantly since I got here. And putting 30 hours of flicker inside my home every year, that's just ludicrous. That is trespassing. And that is when problems will really start happening. When people feel like they have no control about how they live, where they, and how it affects them. There's no enforceable mitigation in here. None at all. Who is going to pay for that testing for the 45 dBA, which is out of bounds? It's well documented that this has to be under 40 dBA. When you get to 40 dBA, then that means that you're going to get the flicker out of the homes. You can fix a lot of things when you go to 40 dBA. You can fix even more things when you use science, because then your decisions won't be arbitrary. You will have something to base your decisions on. And we won't go, oh, did Wynn tell you 1,500 feet? Did Wynn tell you 45 dBA? You'll actually have something that you can sink your teeth into, and we can use some science behind it. When you have that information, we have given it to you. So I ask that you consider the 2-mile setback with a waiver. That takes care of the dBA noises, that takes care of some infrasound problems, that takes care of the flicker. And if you can't do that, at least look at science and go with the American National Standards Institute guidelines for science, or the World Health Organization that says 40 dBA.
Thank you, Christy. Excuse me, the next name on the list is Mark Moschberger.
Hello, Board. We had an opportunity to review the ordinance.
Name and address?
Oh, Mark Mauersberger. I'm from St. Michael, Minnesota. We have an office in Summit. We had an opportunity to review the ordinance, and it is in line with pro-development counties. Amber was correct. The county does not possess the bandwidth to adjudicate the ordinance. That's why the state, during our Dakota Range 1 and 2 permitting process, which was a very robust 6-month process where they hired independent experts who are scientists and experts in their field to review sound, shadow, flicker, cultural issues, and made several, a long list actually, of requirements to our permit. Some of them may seem redundant to what the county ordinance calls for, but that's because the state actually wants to be involved in the adjudication process and making sure that the guidelines are met for the permit that they submit. So when you think about in the future whether or not you're going to be able to have the bandwidth to hire experts, do studies, that type of thing, if there's a dispute or a complaint regarding excesses to what you've responsibly have in this current ordinance, you'll see that the state wants to be an active party to this process, and obviously the county can be an active process, participant as well. Two corrections. The gentleman said that I had mentioned that the turbines were purchased for another project. I actually said they were new, and they were purchased by Excel for a number of turbines that they purchased. These turbines are not brand new. They've been tested in several years in numerous countries. And actually, having these turbines tested in numerous countries for several years is a requirement for financing. So they would not allow you, you'd not get the equity for a project like this if these turbines weren't tried and true. Another thing that was said that 35, Christy had said that, I had said that she didn't know what she was talking about. I didn't say that. I said that she had mentioned that Hessler said 35 dBA than 40. And then Christy corrected herself later and said, well, that was for a different project. Well, I was referring to our project. Hessler's information had come out quite readily and was available at that particular meeting for our particular project. He called 40 dBA preferred, but unrealistic. Hessler called 45 dBA fair. And it's a matter of public record. I've submitted his testimony to the county as well. In closing, 45 dBA, for reference, is the difference between whispering and normal conversation. As a matter of fact, speaking into the speaker, I'm probably exceeding that. So that's not an unrealistic requirement. Also, 30 hours of shadow flicker is modeled supposing sunlight 365 days a year in a glass house. So if you have 30 hours of shadow flicker modeled in a project, realistically, it's probably much less. And like I mentioned earlier, there's both the state and the county, both have enforcement authority. So if it exceeds those amounts, I encourage you to enforce your ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Next name, Mr. Tim Gap.
Thank you. My name is Timothy Gap. I reside at, I don't even have my address memorized, it's my P.O. Box, 45844 144th Street in Summit. I do live on the edge of Summit in Roberts County, about 60 feet from the Grant County line, so I am there. I also own land in Grant County. I support this project, and I support also the proposed changes or the proposed planning and zoning rules that you guys have got. And I just want to mention, I know we can't say that there are no hazards that are going to be involved with this, but I have done a little bit of research myself, and I find that for every study that's talking about the hazards, there's a study that contradicts it. So you can kind of pick and choose your studies. In my, I guess, experience that I have looked at, and it's hard to go by one or another. I guess when you look at the hazards, we have a lot of things in our area that have hazards. You look at the energy industry as a whole, there are hazards in any type of energy that you're going to be looking at. I look at my house where I'm at on the edge of Summit. I'm within a quarter mile of the interstate. That's noisy. Depends upon the day, but I hear it in the morning. I hear it in my house. I live less than a quarter mile away from a railroad. The trains come through 3-4 times in the evening, honking their horn. We hear that. Sometimes you can almost even feel it coming through. There are hazards around us every day. We have grain elevators. We have feedlots. We've got all sorts of things that we see on a daily basis that we deal with. And some people deal with them differently than others. And if it's not a good experience for you, it's unfortunate. But I think at some point in time we need to use common sense when we're taking a look at these rules. I did have a prepared statement that did talk about a lot of the economic, benefits that are out there, and everybody's heard those before, so I don't think I need to talk about those anymore. But it's not all about the economic side. Certainly, we have to look at all the hazards and all the issues that could come up. But I would say, please use common sense when you do that, and I would certainly recommend that you approve planning and zoning ordinance as written. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. The next name on the list, and I apologize, I can't read the handwriting. It's like mine. Jim from Lake Benton. Your last name I can't read. Nichols.
I did try to write fairly. Jim Nichols, 1577 County Road 101, Lake Benton, Minnesota. Thank you. I'm just here as a volunteer. I don't work for anybody. I'm a farmer. It's been such a tremendous thing for my county that's right here. And I want to thank those of you who came to my farm so you get your questions answered, and obviously you still have questions. And this public hearing, that's what this is about. I'd like to specifically answer some questions there on decommissioning, on setbacks, which is controversial, on noise, and on flicker. So I'll get in, if you flash those up when I talk about them. that would be great.
Okay.
Because I saw you had them on the board before. Well, yes, I do have handouts for you, but Krista said that couldn't do it now,
You want-
especially at your next meeting.
Start with decommissioning.
Yes, let's start with decommissioning, but first of all, I'd like to say, because thank you for bringing up that issue about the oil field, whoever spoke to that. My daughter lived in North Dakota, been there a lot. If you've ever been around the back of oil field, and I have friends and neighbors there in Williston, it pretty much destroys your life. It takes 1 million gallons of water to fracture a well. There's nothing on your township road but semis. You can't even get on it if you live there. What's really important is that at 1 million barrels a day they're pumping, the Bakken oil field will be pumped dry in 27 years. That's great for those people who work there now, they got a job, but it's nothing for our kids. And oil is not cheap, and ethanol, we're farmers, is much cheaper than oil. I want to talk about wind here. The price for wind energy is now less than 2 cents per kilowatt hour. Last month, and it's in your handout there, I paid over $200 a month, my electric bill on my farm, and that doesn't count my corn dryer. If I could use wind energy, I would save $150 a month. It's that cheap. My local REA co-op has to buy coal from North Dakota. They're paying 6.3 cents per kilowatt hour to buy it. They can produce it in the county for less than 2 cents. That's what it does for you economically. More importantly, and I've been able to host a lot of members of Congress and senators at my wind turbine, what I really like to say is that a wind turbine produces more energy than an oil well. The average oil well produces 10.3 barrels per day. The average wind turbine now produces more than 15 barrels per day. Our turbine produces 14, and at full production 20 barrels. So a wind turbine produces more energy than an oil well. If you put up a wind turbine, you have struck oil. But what's most important, there's no pollution. You don't have to have it hauled away, piped away, or anything. It goes on a power line. The power line, and this is all single pole. I've worked on all this. All monopole with 12 wires. Can serve 100,000 homes. The best thing about the wind turbine I own with my brother is that the power that we produce is delivered to our customers 200 miles away at the speed of light. It's there in an instant. I call it my combine in the sky, and it's out there harvesting the wind 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Wish I could have been in my combine today. I got corn to combine. Now, I was going to talk about noise here. Ken, do you want to state
No,
that?
no, that's fine. You start with noise. Go ahead.
We'll talk about noise. My corn dryer is, and I farm 500 acres, I buy myself 50,000 bushels of corn. My corn dryer screams for a solid month, 24 hours a day. So for really, and I was a county commissioner. I also served 4 terms as a state senator and state agriculture commissioner. But I made a good living as a farmer, and I've tried to make an honest living. So anyhow, if you're really worried about noise, your corn dryer screaming out there for 24 hours a day, that's a serious problem. I asked the people to come there, and they came to my farm, and Roger Solom organized the tour. He had his decibel meter with him, and as we stood in my yard, you could barely hear the turbine. Living in my house, and I have it here, it's one of your handouts, I'm 1,500 feet from my wind turbine, my house. So you'll see that when you get the handout. I've never heard it in my house, never. You can't hear it. Turbines, as Roger said to the group then, the noise that we're hearing now is less noise, lower on my decibel meter than the air conditioner in my house. So if you're really concerned about noise, you better ban all, especially window air conditioners. And the only thing I ever really hear on my farm is that my neighbors go by with their grain truck. And I'm glad, thank God I got neighbors, they hear mine. Noise is, it's just not an issue. And I know you've talked about this a lot. We have 300 turbines in my county, 3,000 turbines in Minnesota. The investment by companies in Minnesota is over $6 billion. The property taxes generated for the counties is over $12 million. Think what that could do for your schools. The money that brings to the farmers is about that much as well. It's the best economic engine we've ever had in my county. And we're a small county, less than 5,000 people. And to close my high school, I'm here with my Dave Wagner, Oakland Alberta High School, it's closed. Linden's closed. We go to Elkton now. We've lost our kids. The wind turbines have created jobs for our kids, good jobs, at a very good, the starting pay is $40,000 a year with full benefits. And in 2 years, they get a degree from Watertown, a lot of them, or Canby. So now we have jobs for our kids. We didn't have these jobs before. So that is what it has done for us economically. And the gentleman said it well. His knowledge, no one's ever died from a wind turbine. I don't know of anybody either. We started this in Minnesota in 1994. I was lucky to be in politics then, and I worked hard to pass the law required wind energy. And I got it started because when I was the Ag Secretary, I passed the law that required ethanol. Because ethanol was so successful, I was able to go on to wind energy. So we've been at this now for 24 years. We've never had a serious accident. We've never had anybody die. Thinking about the heart was news to me. These don't happen. If you're really concerned about deaths, you should do something about alcohol and road deaths. People just dying from alcohol. I mean, there are reasons why we die, but wind turbines is not one of them. So that's the noise issue. Now, let's talk a little bit about the setbacks. Before I leave the noise issue, our noise issue in Minnesota is 50 dBA. And that's kind of where everybody is in almost every state. I don't know about this Wyoming one. The problem, if you decide to go to 45, which changes it really from a whisper to what I'm saying now, then it causes your companies to want to invest here to totally purchase a different type of a turbine, because 50 has become kind of the standard in the industry. So my request to you is frankly, if you don't get a wind turbine here, we'd love to have it in Lincoln County. So, you're the losers here. Your kids are the losers, and the property taxes for your school district are the losers. So don't choose something that won't work and you can't get them. Now, the setbacks. As you can see, my house is 1,500 feet from the wind turbine. As I said, you can't hear it. You can't hear it. And there's a lot more, just the wind blowing is more noise than the wind turbine. 1,500 feet is a good setback, and 110% for the taller ones is also a good setback, and that's standard in the industry. Taller turbine should have more than 1,500 feet. So you've got good setbacks. You've got good setbacks in the public right of way, and a mile from a town, that's okay. And I know you can argue that it should be a mile from everybody in the country, but there's a lot of other noise in town that you have to deal with. I've had to live in town. I was the Ag Secretary, I lived in St. Paul. And that's noisy. It's a noisy place to live. And the street lights are on 24 hours a day. People talk about lights. And the stop lights are flashing. So there's a lot of problems out there. And the towns have to deal with those. But on the farm, yes, it is quiet. That's why we live there. It's a good place to live. The wind turbines don't cause that. Your setbacks that you proposed here are good setbacks. And they're the standard in Minnesota. They're the standard for almost every state. So you've chosen good setbacks. Now, flicker. When we started this stuff 24 years ago, none of these things were even an issue, and they still aren't an issue in my county. We don't even talk about this stuff. We've got 300 turbines. But the people that are opposed to wind energy, and I never quite know why they are, because it's the cheapest power in America, absolutely without pollution, and we can deliver this to people 1,000 miles away at the speed of light. This, what you can produce right here in Grant County. Someday as you build more, your customers will be in Detroit and Chicago and New York, because they want to buy your power because they can't buy it anywhere for 2 cents. Natural gas is 4 cents, coal is 6 cents. That's what they're going to, and they're going to be required to do it anyhow. So, flicker, 30 hours is certainly more than adequate. Our turbine, and those of you who were there could see that it's west of my house. So if the sun is setting, you could argue that there's some flicker. I've almost never seen it. Once in a great while, I can see a little flash on the wall, inside my house on the wall.
Mr. Nichols, I'm sorry, your time has expired.
Sorry.
I know we've had some clapping on both sides, but I think we could just maybe kind of keep it to yourselves, clap on the inside. We all know who everybody's at who's supporting you, so if you could just make things move further, a little bit better along, that'd be great. Next name on the list is Darcy Adam.